going to do an install video for you on the skid plate for Astro Safari vans that we're making. Just want to show it to you here on the bench with what you get. It's 11 gauge skid pan itself. It has 7 holes, 7 1-inch holes, dimple dyed in, which helps airflow to the transmission pan and actually makes the whole thing stronger. Have oil drain, dimple dyed front gussets. So the nut strip that goes into the transmission cross member have 4 mega thick washers that we're going to use at the front mount, and then 2 bolts to make up the front mount. And we can look at that now. This front bracket piece is going to bolt up where the lower differential mount bolts are. These holes here will reuse the original bolts. These will be new bolts and holes that will have to be drilled. And one hole in the middle is an original bolt hole in the transmission cross member. The other 2 will have to be drilled. So basically drill 4 holes for installation, and it really shouldn't have to be removed unless you have some major mechanical issues. So let's crawl underneath the van and we'll get this started. So we're going to start underneath here. Yes, I have it will leak and I will fix it. But for right now, we are going to be taking this bottom differential bolt out and the same bottom differential mount bolt on this side. Now, what I've found is it's the same as like if you've replaced leaf springs. You know, if you get the weight off of it enough, that the bolt just slides right out. But I have found that putting a jack under the side on the driver's side definitely helps with getting that bolt out. Because, you know, all the weight's on this side, so it gets a little bit harder to remove. And, you know, of course, I've had this apart many times already, so hopefully your bolts come out as easy as mine do. I mean, I haven't taken tension off of it at all. And this bolt I can pull out by hand. I just want to, you know, there it's touching, you know, maybe a 1/2 inch of movement. Just get the weight off of it a little bit. Okay, so I took both of these lower differential bolts out, that one and this one back here. Just had the jack on it just to take the weight off a little bit. Both of them pulled right out easy. You know, maybe a pry bar to pry it a little bit or something you might need, but it should be pretty easy to get those out. And I've just stuck the skid plate up. So I took my pry bar, made sure that this center hole was lined up with the factory hole in the cross member, and I just used my vice grip. You know, I'm working on there and I just want to make sure that this stays where it's at. So I know this hole lines up, and I've got those 2 front bolts just stuck in place. I didn't put the nuts back on or anything. And you want to kind of check for clearances and everything, you know, exhaust clearance. I can stick my finger in this side, it's plenty. There's no other interference with anything on this side. we can see our oil drain plug. There we go. We can see our oil drain plug up in there. Center it in the hole. On this side, our exhaust is a bit tighter, but you know, these holes have a little bit of adjustment to it, so you can pull that pan down, and I think that's plenty acceptable. Even once everything gets hot, I don't think you're gonna have any rattling problem there. So taking note that this side could be pulled down, we need to drill 2 holes, one on each side of the back side of this bracket that connects to our differential bolts. Needs to be 7/16 inch final hole size. Driver side's not so bad. Passenger side, the smaller the drill, the easier it is to fit in there because of the exhaust and stuff. But it's doable. So the Sharpie or a center hole punch or something, mark your holes here where you need to drill. Come back here to the transmission cross member. You don't have to drill the center hole. That's an original hole that's in the cross member that we're using. So you have to drill the 2 outside holes. Drill this hole and this hole, also to 7/16 inch diameter. And then you really want to make sure that the inside of those holes, when you drill them, are pretty burr free, because we need to take our nut strip and slip it up inside of the torsion key hole here, slide it across so we can get the nuts in, or the bolts in. So we have our holes drilled now, and pan back up in place. We don't want to put a nut on this bolt just yet. We have these mega thick washers that we're going to use for spacers, because this original differential bracket is a C shape, just a really shallow C shape. So we're going to put these mega thick washers in there to help distribute the load even, and make sure I have a good solid connection. So we just slide that between our skid plate and the original diff bracket, and now we can put our nut back on. I'm not going to totally tighten it just yet. And we're going to do the same thing on the back side where we drilled our new holes. One of these mega thick washers go in there on both sides between the original bracket and the skid plate bracket. Make sure you do not forget these. Okay, we have our nut strip. We're going to slide back in the torsion bar hole and get nut lined up. And you have to excuse the train going by, but get all of our bolts started in this nut strip. This one is a prototype, so I do get in with 2 metal holes there. I'll weld the other one, weld the extra one up. Same time. Alright, so these back ones, we're going to do the same thing for now, is we're just going to You just want to snug those up. You don't tighten them the whole way. Just snug them up. You can take your clamp off now if you had one on there. We're going to go up front. We're going to tighten those 4 bolts down, and we'll come back and tighten these down for the final time, and installation will be done. Okay, we have everything tightened up now. 3 bolts, not stripping the transmission cross member. We have our new nut and bolt that we drilled the hole for, and our original differential mount, and our mega thick washer in between. Oil filter, still plenty accessible. You can see, hold on, get the white ones. You can see across the front here that the profile of the skid plate kind of follows that original mount for the differential. You know, all of your front steering, the, you know, timing chain cover, everything is easily accessible still. The oil filter is plenty accessible. You can see kind of the gap we have between the skid plate and the oil pan, and we have a good inch, so this thing's pretty darn durable. You know, we have more than that back here at the transmission. So even if you would hit something hard, all of your shift cable is still accessible. It's underneath though, so you don't have to worry about tree branches and stuff going up in and breaking anything. On this side, starter can still be taken out. The transmission pan's fully covered from underneath. Torsion keys can still be gotten to, so it's really these 4 bolts in the front, these 3 bolts in the back, and you got a very solid skid plate. Road hazards, even, you know, fire safety, keep the hot exhaust off of tall grass and stuff. If you park somewhere and it's sitting still for a while. So that's the installation of it. If you guys have any further questions or comments, I'd like to get with somebody that maybe has a LS swap, and I don't know if this is going to work with a LS or not, but I would love to hear from somebody that has done an LS swap in an all-wheel drive. If you can give me some measurements or some ideas, I'll be happy to try to see if this would work for an LS swap as well. I know that obviously the oil drain would probably have to change, but yeah, that's it.